All right, let's get this show on the road. Nikki Haley is the latest, the Spider Woman. Everybody, everybody associated with Trump winds up totally fucked up. You've noticed this, just completely spun out of control by the time they break free, one way or the other. They can be ex-military. They can be high-ranking ex-military, like generals. They can be former diplomats. They can be business executives, whether it's a good business or a shit business. It doesn't matter. After being associated with Trump, I told you he's a carrier of this sociopathy, this psychopathy that just ricochets around inside of his empty head. But when people get away from him, they're just completely fucked. Nikki Haley has written a book. Don't they all? What's the name of her book? It doesn't matter. Full disclosure, is that it? But Nikki Haley has put something in the book that she thinks is really some kind of a revelation where she stepped in to save Trump from the Secretary of State and the former chief of staff. That she saved Trump from the actions of these two men. When what Nikki Haley, this crazy goddamn woman, is really saying is that she chose Trump over the United States. What the fuck? What happens to people when they get near this gangster? I mean, for example, I can give you two quick examples. Rudy Giuliani and Sean Hannity. Both of them are fucked up. Both of them are just crazier than loons to begin with. I used to work at a competing station with Sean here in Atlanta. I mean, he's a real jerkwad. And Giuliani is totally fucked up. He notifies his wife that he's going to, one of his wives, he's going to get divorced by introducing his girlfriend at a press conference. I mean, that's Giuliani. And the wife went, "What?" But Hannity and Giuliani are two classic examples. Hannity was always kind of a goof. He made a lot of money. There's no question about that. So if you're judging Hannity by how much money he's made, he's a fucking top of the heap. If you judge Hannity by the shit that dribbles out of his mouth that's put there by the Republican National Committee, well, he is what he is. But those are two examples, two non-entities except in their own little orbits, and then they suck into Trump, or Trump sucks into them like some kind of an amoebic dysentery. Trump gets inside people's bodies and starts rotting them from the inside out. And the latest one is Nikki Haley. Unfucking believable. Let me quote something from the Washington Post by Aaron Blake. He writes, ever since September 2018, a year ago, we've been trying to figure out who is that, quote, senior administration official, end quote, who wrote the anonymous column for the New York Times op-ed page. Remember that? This official described a resistance, his word, from inside the Trump administration that tried to work to, quote, frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations, end quote. And the author now has a book coming out called Warning. However, when Nikki Haley, in her little bookie, tells us that the president, former chief of staff, and secretary of state spearheaded just such an effort, maybe the story is that she didn't say, I'll join you. We got to do something to stop this fucker. She describes, Haley does, being approached by John Kelly and Rex Tillerson, former chief of staff and former secretary of state. They approached her to, in her words, in her book, undermine the president. Undermine? Oh, Haley, for fuck's sake! You worked around this monster? You call it undermining? I guess if somebody's about to slash a child's throat, and somebody saw it and called 911, the person calling 911 to stop the murder would be undermining the murderer's attempt to slash a kid's throat. Are you crazy, bitch? What is wrong with you? Excuse me. I know what's wrong with you. Trump got inside your alimentary canal and has been eating you alive ever since. And now you write this drivel in your book. The two people who have spent time in the Trump administration, neither of whom I particularly agree with, but they came to realize what they were up against and tried to figure out a way to, quote, frustrate parts of his agenda, Trump's, and, quote, stymie his worst inclinations, end quote. Trump is a fucking moron. You don't undermine a moron, Nikki. You stop a moron. You don't undermine somebody who's destroying the country. You stop them. What the fuck is wrong with you? Jesus. Haley wrote this, quote, Kelly and Tillerson confided in me that when they resisted the president, they weren't being insubordinate. They were trying to save the country. Right, she goes on. It was their decisions, not the president's, that were in the best interests of America, they said. The president didn't know what he was doing, they said. Tillerson also said that people would die if Trump was unchecked. Okay, let's just look at that little tiny bit. They weren't being insubordinate. They were trying to save the country. And Nikki Haley, I don't know, maybe there's something in her background. Maybe it's because Trump is male and Nikki Haley is female, and there's some enculturated aspect of Nikki Haley being a woman in America. I don't care that she's ambassador to the UN. I don't care if she was governor of South Carolina. Fuck all that. When somebody is trying to destroy the country and she subsumes her opinion, when two people are warning her, what does that mean? Well, maybe to some degree it means that Nikki Haley just could not speak out against the man. The man. What is it, Nikki? Huh? He's got a penis and you don't. Therefore, or I know, you work for him. He doesn't work for you. Are you crazy? What if you worked in the auto industry, Haley, and you watched cars being made that had a huge bolt loose, and it became apparent that anyone who drove that car would, around 10,000 miles, lose their steering completely? Would you keep your mouth shut then, Nikki? Well, actually, you probably would. You reveal more about yourself here, sweetheart, than you ever reveal about Tillerson, as fucked up as he was, or, what's his name? The other one. Who's the other one? Kelly, John Kelly. Jesus Christ. This is just, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Has anybody come out of any kind of a relationship with Trump, other than his brain-addled oldest son, who hasn't come out saying, what the fuck happened in there? What? Even Nikki Haley. The problem with Haley, in her blind loyalty to Trump, she is willing to throw the country under the fucking wheels. And she has future political ambitions. You better limit them to the state of South Carolina, you crazy goddamn loon. What is wrong with you? The big takeaway here, Aaron Blake writes in the Washington Post, the big takeaway is that two of the most important cabinet officials in the Trump administration were apparently alarmed enough by Trump's actions that they were willing to go to this length. Trump allies will want to believe that's because they were part of the deep state. Oh, the deep state. Ooh, the deep state. It's going to get you. It's going to get you. But these are people Trump chose for these extremely important jobs and who work closely with him. So you right-wing, half-brained, dumb fucks who want to scream and, shove a thumb up your ass screaming, deep state, you go right ahead. These are Trump appointees, assholes. They're also among the people we knew were out there, but we were unable to locate. We being journalists who are trying to find out who is keeping this bastard in check. They were apparently so worried about Trump that one of them predicted deadly results if he weren't at least somewhat held in check. Well, the deadly results have already occurred. Look what happened in Syria. Look what happened with Kurds. People who gave their lives by a ratio of about 900 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 for our people in northern Iraq, and Trump just threw them to the fucking dogs. And Haley just came out and told us who they were. And they weren't some middling deputy secretaries, these two. If Haley had the sense God gave a pissant, she would realize that in saying what she said in her book, that's not an affirmation of the president that she wants to attach herself to in order to advance her filthy political career. She was willing to throw the country in the fucking tank to protect this monster in the White House. Unfucking real, Nikki. Shame on you. Shame on you. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.